Have you ever wondered what it felt like to purchase your own home? And you might feel like you're in a season where you're looking for your home and you're searching and you're searching and you're searching, and this is your first home that you're going to purchase. And you might feel like everyone else is an expert except for you. But what I want to tell you is that everybody from the person who's bought their 10th home to the person who is a real estate agent to everything in between has always started somewhere. And so today I want to share with you the story on how purchased my very first home and what that looked like and all of the things. So let's go ahead and get into it. If you're new here, my name is Angelise. I am a child of God and a Christian real estate agent here in the state of Georgia. I serve the metro Atlanta area, including West Cobb, North Cobb, and North Fulton. And so if you ever have any questions, definitely check out the link down below to get more information on how you can buy or sell your home the absolute easy way. So getting right into it. When I bought my first home, that's kind of like a tongue twister a little bit. But when I bought my first home, it was now several years ago by God's grace. And I was in a season where honestly I was honestly looking for an apartment. I was in a different living situation and I was wanting to get out of that situation as quickly as possible. And so my first option was to look for an apartment. But there was someone in my life who they said, you know what? How about you actually look for a home? You're going to be paying the same amount anyway in terms of your monthly expenditures. And so why not just look for purchasing a home? And I said, okay. And so I started looking for a home. I started looking on Zillow every single day. And I was working a 9 to 5 job. So I was doing my full-time job and trying to find a home and trying to live my life, right? And so that's what the season, that's what it called for, I assumed. And that's what I did. I looked on Zillow. I looked on all of the different websites. I had the apps. I did everything, right? And some of the specifications that I was looking for is I wanted new construction. I wanted, something that was multiple bedrooms, a little bit more, 2 to 3 bedrooms, because me and my daughter were going to be staying there. And I wanted it, of course, to be in a good area where there was lots of, shops nearby and, grocery stores and all the things, right? So during this journey, I was searching on Zillow. I was looking at a few properties and eventually I started working with an agent. I worked with an agent for a day and it didn't work out, which is okay. But that was my experience working with an agent. I worked with an agent. We went and looked at a few homes and it didn't work out. But I ended up a couple of weeks later, or maybe a little bit later, I ended up finding, one home that had, everything that I was looking for. It was new construction. It had, it was a 2-story property. It was in a great area, all the things, right? And they were having this special promotion where I could put down $1 in earnest deposit money. And I would be able to secure the property and go under contract. And so I was like, yes, they were having this super, super sweet special. So I thought, what ended up happening is financing fell through. Okay. And so I want to share all of these items and all of these details with you because, when you're buying your home and when you're buying your first home, sometimes it can just go like that. You just, you want to buy your first home and that's it. And you buy it and that's it. And you move in. But in other cases, there might be situations where you really love a home and you really want to move into that home and you have already planned out your entire life where your kids are going to go to school, all the things that are going to take place when you're moving into this new neighborhood and you daydream about it. I mean, you really become invested in it. You go under contract and you're like, yes, that means it's secure, that it's pretty much mine. It can be a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. But for me, what happened was financing fell through. We weren't able to move forward. It wasn't anyone's fault. It's just, we weren't able to work out an agreement with the lender. And I wasn't able to move forward with that house. And so as a real estate agent now, in today's time, I understand exactly what it feels like to love a home and to go under contract on that home. And then something comes up where it might not be financing, but it might just be something that falls through where you're not able to get that particular home. And that is okay. And so I will also say when the financing fell through during that time, I didn't have an agent. And so I was completely depending on, well, whatever the listing agent told me, is what I, took back and I said, okay, cool. Right. So I was depending on them to tell me all of the information. And so, I think back now and I think it's interesting. Like, I can't imagine now, like, you know, thank the Lord, honestly, that I was going with a new construction builder that's, to buy the home. But imagine if I was going to, imagine if I wanted to buy the home of a for sale by owner, which a for sale by owner is someone who is not a real estate agent. They're not, licensed to sell real estate or anything like that. They're just a regular homeowner. And if you wanted to buy someone's property and they're not represented by an agent, you're not represented by an agent, and they're not represented by an agent. You're kind of just putting information back and forth, and you just kind of have to depend on what they're telling you. But anyway, so that's what my experience was. I didn't have an agent. I was depending on what the listing agent told me. And I don't think that they did anything wrong, but looking back now, I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's probably so many things that I was missing out on. And so that property didn't work out. Property number one didn't work out. So I ended up finding property number two. And as I was looking at property number two, actually, it so happened that when I was looking at property number two, it was, again, a new construction home. And so there was a listing agent that was there on site. And they said, actually, we're full in this property, but go over here and look at this property. And so I went over, and now we're at property number three. And I looked at that property and I started comparing price for square footage. And I said, well, the square footage over here is much, is much bigger than the square footage for the first home that I wanted to buy in the first place. And they're the same price, right? And so I'm like, I want to go with the largest square footage for my budget. If I'm going to be paying the same amount anyway, why not go with a property that's going to have square footage, right? And so I found property number three. I really liked it. I went under contract. I was really happy. And, financing, it was looking like it was going to go through, and, everything was going well. And I was just really, really excited. Like, we had a really solid plan in place in terms of the financing and all the things. And we finally kind of got everything squared away. And so I was excited. The only thing really that I had to wait on when it came to finding property number three and actually going in and living there, the only thing that I had to wait on was it to be built, because it was in a community, a brand new community, where they were building, one house after the other. And so my house was a little ways down. And so I just had to wait a little bit until, all the construction was done, and then I can move in. And so you better believe I visited the property every weekend to see the progress, to see what was going on. And I was just really excited to move. And here's where my faith comes in, because even though I was going through all of this stuff, searching on Zillow, working with an agent, going to property number 1, 2, 3, all these things, financing fell through, not once did I ask the Lord, where do you want me to live? Where do you want me to live? And what house do you want me to select? Not once did I ask the Lord where he wanted me to live. And now, years later, I look back and I'm like, man, out of all that I was going through, that was my biggest mistake. Because I was, like I said, visiting the property every single weekend. It was kind of almost like I was making it an idol. If I'm being completely honest with you, I was making it an idol. And I remember one week I was having kind of a down moment in my life, and I came to the property, and I remember the Lord speaking to me very clearly, and he said, "This is not your house." And so I was like, what? Like, the living situation that I was in before I moved, it just was not promising, and it was not conducive for what I was wanting, for that time period in my life. And so, to have gone through all of this stuff, I finally was under contract. All these things were happening, and the Lord says that this is not your house. I was just like, oh. But at the time, I was a new-ish Christian. Not that that's an excuse, but when the Lord said that this is not your house, I was like, well, it has to be. Like, and it doesn't matter how desperate I was or how like sorrowful I was. Like, I was moving forward in rebellion at that point, because the Lord had already told me that this was not your house. Little did I know, COVID would happen a couple of months later, and I ended up moving in to the property. And man, everything, when you start doing stuff like that, like, everything seems fine. Everything seems like it's going perfectly. But when I tell you disobedience against the Lord is never a good idea. And this is also why I want to shed some light on, I think, the spiritual implications behind real estate and the real estate process and just in general, what goes on. Because you might think that, oh, it's just real estate, it's just a business transaction. But no, we want to lean on the Lord because the Lord knows things that we don't know. And so this is why I want to bring to the surface the fact that we have to lean on our faith for everything, even for purchasing a home, even for selling a home. Okay. It goes further beyond just numbers and contracts and paperwork and all of the things. So, y'all, I moved into this property and everything seemed fine at the beginning. And actually, I will say, on the day that I moved in, it was actually kind of a dreary day. It was a dreary, rainy day, and it was cold in the house. And I remember, like, I was trying to heat up the house, and I was sitting there eating my little Chick-fil-A because there was nothing in the house. And it just it was not giving joy. It was not giving, like, oh my gosh, like, it was just giving, I'm tired, right? But there was more, because as I moved into the house, within maybe a week or two, one thing after another started just breaking and not working. There ended up being a gas leak, like the first 1 or 2 weeks, within the first week or so. A gas leak, the Freon pipe burst. Someone was coming to install something and they had to drill into the wall, and they accidentally burst the Freon pipe. So all of the Freon that was just installed into this new construction home, gone, had to get that replaced. I started a lot of things and I couldn't finish them. I would start all of these projects in the house and I wouldn't be able to finish them for whatever reason. Again, it goes beyond just what we see in the natural. It's definitely spiritual. Okay. Don't get weirded out, but hey, it is what it is. The carpet in the property started to stink out of nowhere. There were people that, there were some things that were going on, and the carpet started to stink, and there was this stench as I was walking through the house. The electrical wiring of the property, it wouldn't keep certain things on, certain appliances on. Like I couldn't have the dishwasher and the refrigerator, and, certain outlets wouldn't work because the electrical wiring was too overloaded, y'all. So imagine you buying all of these groceries and you put them in the refrigerator, and then the refrigerator won't turn on or it won't stay on, right? So you wake up the next morning, everything is just like, what is even happening? Eventually, sometime later, the garage door opener got wet. It got completely soaked and drenched in water. And so the garage door opener didn't work anymore. The neighborhood, what I realized is in a certain season, when car was not available, the neighborhood is not walkable. So if there is no car, you can't go to the grocery store. You can't do this. You can't do that, right? It's not walkable. It's not conducive for, oh man, if the car is in the shop or something, how are we going to, maneuver? Saw some things in the neighborhood that were not so pleasant. We're not going to get into that for legal reasons, but all of these things started to bubble up after I made that decision to go against what God was telling me. When he told me that day, he said, Angelease, this is not your house. I decided not to listen, and I was in complete rebellion, and I paid for it. And so these are just some of the highlights. I mean, there's plenty of other things that have happened within the property, but I wanted to share this story with you so that you can understand it doesn't matter what real estate agent you work with, whether it's me or someone else. And I pray that it's me because I want to be your friend. But it doesn't matter what real estate agent you work with or, who you go to, whether you're buying a home by yourself, selling a home by yourself, ask God. And not only ask God, but be prepared for what the answer is that God is going to give you. When God gives you the answer, believe him and go with what he says. And so I pray that this was a helpful episode for you, a helpful video for you, so that you can understand that we have to ask and lean on the Lord for everything, even when it comes to purchasing a home. It's not just business. It's not just numbers. We want to make sure that we're getting this right with the Lord the first time, because this is your home. This is where you're going to be laying your head. This is something that you want to take seriously, and you don't want to mess this up. So if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them down below in the comments, or you can click on the link in the description down below. Reach out, and I would love to work with you and help you and support you to find the home that is God approved. Until next time, I will talk to you later. Bye.